Hey guys, it's me, Skeleton of Chaos, in-game username Kvothe, and today I'm here to cast a replay of one of the games I was playing a few weeks ago. I'm playing this with a 5-stack of people, most of whom I know simply from playing Dota 2, like Trial, Vexus, and Flying Lemon, whereas Kevlar Scale I actually know in real life. I believe I'm playing Skeleton King this game. And I just remember this being a fun match, so I thought I might as well start casting with it. So let the game begin. So I'm pinging, basically because I'm trying to tri-lane with some of my friends, and I'm just showing them where to stand with the actual gank, where I'm showing if there's this line, they hide in the trees. If they come up by that line, we come down with stuns, we can get kills. So anyways, I'm playing Skeleton King, and as you can see, I do have a Skeleton King set with the Spine Splitter Sword, because I do really enjoy playing Skeleton King. So I guess I'll talk about a few of Skeleton King's skills. First off, he has Hellfire Blast. This is a nuke and a stun. It's very mana intensive, which is something that Skeleton King doesn't necessarily have a lot to spare. But the nice thing about it is that it's a 2-second stun. Even at level 1, the stun does not scale with levels, and the 2-second slow also does not scale with the level. So as far as Disable goes, it's very strong level 1, but it doesn't do as much damage as it could. So we're having creep equilibrium, and we're trying to start a gank. So we're going on the anti-mage, and basically what happened is our Earthshaker threw his stun way too slow. That stun should have came a lot sooner if we were to get that. So we missed the kill. And this is just something, when you are going for a gank, make sure that everyone, in a tri-lane at least, make sure that everyone knows how to go for it. Because basically, if we could have got that level, I mean, we did succeed in burning some regen on the anti-mage, but if we could have got a kill there, it would have given me a Quelling Blade, which is something that I personally need to last hit on Skeleton King. I'm not that good at last hitting with him. And it would have gave us gold, it would have gave XP, and it would have put me a lot farther ahead. But because that stun wasn't quite right, anti-mage could blink away, and, you know, stuff happens. Anyways, talking about Skeleton King's other skills, we have Vampiric Aura. This is basically like the Vlad's Aura lifesteal buff. It goes up to a hefty 30%, so that's relatively a lot. It's 10% more than a Satanic gives you by default. Then you have Mortal Strike. It's a 15% chance to crit. The crit chance doesn't scale with levels, but the damage does. It's really not bad to crit at 275. It also has an active component, which temporarily steals some HP, 20%. Now that damage is dealt as HP removal, so it can't actually kill, but it will give you that. So if you're running away, you can use it to stay alive, or perhaps if you're taking burn damage, because Hellfire Blast does have 2 seconds of burn damage at 50 when it's maxed out. And so if they're almost dead, you could perhaps use Mortal Strike, and then the burn damage could finish them off. I really do like the active component of Mortal Strike. I'm not going to use it too much this game, but it can be very useful when you're playing. And Skeleton King's ultimate, this is kind of what he's known for, is Reincarnation. Basically, he gets to come back from the dead. At level 1, this is every 260 seconds, which is really, really long, basically. It's over 4 minutes. But when it's maxed out, it can go down to, 60 seconds? So every minute you can get a free death, and that really helps Skeleton King stay alive. We perhaps could have went on that anti-mage here, if we stun, but you know, we didn't get the nice Earthshaker stun, because I would prefer not to use my mana. I would prefer to save it for Reincarnation, because it does cost 140 mana. So I'm trying to get our Elder Titan to go on. He does, but I was actually out of position, so now he's going to die. But the anti-mage blinks here, and this is actually really significant, because now I can come down. He doesn't have blink. He shouldn't have blink for a few seconds. And I can get that kill. So granted, we did give a first blood, because oftentimes players underestimate how much damage anti-mage does at level 1, because we look at this real quick. So he does 60 base damage, right? And then he has, well, at low levels anyway, so 40%. but 60% of this is dealt as mana burn. So 60% of 40 would be like 24. So he's hitting around 84 damage, which is a lot for an auto attack at this point in the game. Ah, no. I apologize. I'm really awful at doing this, apparently. Okay, so this should be relatively close. I'm assuming just some laning and me getting some mana. I don't actually know how to hide this. There we go. Okay. Sorry about that. So anyways, yeah, we're just going to kind of watch me last hit some creeps for now. I'm currently on directed camera instead of player perspective. Okay, there we go. So, last hitting under tower is something that a lot of people have trouble with. Me in particular, which is why I do have the Quelling Blade on this hero. And I missed that last hit because I'm obviously fantastic at last hitting. I'm so pro at this game. And I missed another one. I just animation canceled a critical strike on that creep. And so yeah, if you guys enjoy people missing last hits, you should fairly enjoy my Skeleton King play. I'm sitting at a measly 6 last hits this far into the game. Granted, I'm playing slightly scared of the Drow, because the ranged attack, especially with the Frost Arrow and the Anti-Mage, I can actually die really quickly. But, you know, I'm keeping my HP up, and, you know, I have a kill. It's not the end of the world. I could be doing a lot better at this point. So, you know, more or less hitting with creeps. Now, the other Titans was doing a lot of roaming the entire game, and to some extent this worked out for them, to some extent it didn't. The only downside I see to doing like this, for instance, this really hurts when I get this movement speed slow. And it's really only that stun from Earthshaker, into my stun. But yeah, I guess I'm gonna die here. It's kind of depressing. Anyways, the downside to them being a having 3 men up here in the moment is the fact that they have a Drow, an Anti-Mage, and an Elder Titan. Now, both Drow and Anti-Mage really need levels to be able to capitalize, because they have to carry, so they need a level advantage. And if they're 3-manning and they're not getting solo XP, that really hurts them. But like right now, since you know the Drow had to head back and Elder Titan instead, this Anti-Mage is going to be able to catch up to me in levels here, which really hurts. Like, really hurts. And you'll see that the Anti-Mage gets a bit difficult for me to deal with later on in this game.
Yo, green dudes, something bad is happening.
Yeah.
In your bottle.
I can't actually click on that guy. But I suppose I can click on him. So the Anti-Mage has a Ring of Health and a Quelling Blade, which frankly, Quelling Blade is something that all Anti-Mages normally pick up in the game. And just because it does help them when they're jungling, get their items a lot faster. And here's the Ring of Health, but that means he's not really that aggressive. He can't really do that much damage at this point. So stun, we get a pick off on the Anti-Mage, we get silenced, it doesn't matter, I already threw my stun. It looks like our Earthshaker is going to live. The Drow is probably fairly close to dead at this point. I'm just not comfortable going on her, especially because I don't have mana for both the spell and reincarnate. Well, I do now since the Coddle has given me mana. Just something that's very useful. Coddle, amazing hero, having mana, especially on heroes like SK who really have mana issues. Coddle just saves the day. Because without Coddle we wouldn't be able to do nearly as many stuns, and I would be able to actually die. So having a Coddle here is really a blessing. And I've doubled my last hits since the last time I've talked about last hits. I'm now sitting at a hefty 13, which is still incredibly pathetic for this late in the game. I'm not on my best at last hitting. Around the 10-minute mark, you should have about 50 last hits. So, based on this, I'm going to be about 30 last hits short. So I'm hitting about 40% of the quota that I'm supposed to be. Like this, if I was remotely paying attention, I would have had way more than one last hit out of that entire creep wave. So then we have a Zeus. I really hate Zeus's. The Burning Passion. He dodges my stun, or I guess I just forget to cast my stun on him. So he'll walk away from that. I probably could have played that more aggressively, because I do have mana for both stun and res. So I really could have got a kill there if I was paying attention. Once again. So, revive, I get full mana. Drow's going to escape me at this point. I was hoping she would turn around so I could throw a bolt at her. I didn't want to Mortal Strike there, because in the event that I Mortal Striked, I would have lost my ability to resurrect. If I used the active component of Mortal Strike anyways. So this is just me playing really poorly. Which I really hate to say because I'm casting this, but I'm playing really poorly at this part of the game. Granted, I'm 2-1-1, so I'm going positive. I've gotten gold from kills, but it's just little execution differences that could have made a huge difference, especially in the early game. If we hit our stuns, we were able to coordinate our... Even if we coordinated our first stun where our Shaker missed, and we could have hit that, that would have been a huge, huge difference. Also, you'll notice I have a slight misskill here. I picked up a 3rd level Mortal Strike with the Hellfire Blast. I really should have went to the Hellfire Blast. Much, much better early game. That was just me panic skilling. I'm going to take some unnecessary tower damage here. Kind of really hurt getting silenced like that, especially because I don't have my res up. We're going to be able to keep them from killing our Earthshaker just with the stun threat, the threat of the stun. Now, one of the things that people may be a bit confused about is that I'm not putting points into stats. A lot of people like putting points into stats on Skeleton King, and I kind of agree with it because, you know, he does need mana, he does need some more or less basic stats to round him out, especially in the early game because he doesn't have that much mana, and crit, when you have 73 damage as your total damage, crit really doesn't help you out too much either. So you could most definitely make the argument for putting points into stats. My issue is that right now, because we are in the tri-lane setup, is that sometimes an extra 50 damage is all we need to differentiate between a kill and not, and chances are I'm not going to get that 50 damage out of stats. I mean, I could, if it gave me mana for 1 more Hellfire Blast, but in this case, something like 1 crit is going to make the entire difference. Now at this point, I do have enough. I am picking up a level of Vampiric Aura, simply because I'm running out of regen, and it'll help me keep in lane. Granted, it will cause the creep wave to push, but it'll help me stay in lane a little bit better, especially against people like Dancemage, even though he rotated bottom at this point, which I was not aware of. So, yeah, my start to this game is more or less awful. More or less awful. I think we decided that we were going to take a tower at this point, so the Darkseer rotated up to help us push. Because the tower gold would really help our team out at this point. I'm about at half the last hits I should be. I'm at 26 out of... I should be having around like 60 at this point in the game. So basically, if we look at that, we go 60 last hits, 50 gold, that's 3,000. I should basically have my boots and my... I should basically have boots and that thing by now. Armlet or Mortician. I should have both of those by now. So we just went on a really far dive to get a kill. I was hoping to at least put some damage on, so I would get an assist and assist gold for that, but sadly I failed. Zeus is being irritating Zeus, which is more or less exactly what he excels at doing. So Ironwood Branch continued towards my Armlet. Because one thing about Armlet on Skeleton King as opposed to Armlet on other strength heroes is that the 30% lifesteal means on every hit you get off of an Armlet, because the Armlet is giving you plus 60 damage when activated. Your lifesteal will heal you for 20 of that, because it's a 30% lifesteal, or at least fairly close to 20. Slightly less than 20 in actuality. But the lifesteal greatly offsets, especially if you crit, because the crit is, if we look at it, crit's at 275, so let's just round that to 300. That means you're doing 180 which means you're gaining approximately 60 health
Green dudes
on
stay
the crit.
down, son.
And so that means that it basically, the armlet will pay for itself. So yeah, they just tried to gank me. I have a res, so our team is going to be able to walk away from this without too much ill, because, you know, I can resurrect from dying. And that's something that you have to be very careful of when you are ganking a skeleton king, is that you have to realize that unless you can kill him twice, there's really no point to. I mean, granted that I can now be killed for the next 4 minutes, and it is helpful to have my ult off cooldown. But at the same time, they just used Elder Titan, they just did a rotation,
Red dudes, middle
and
tower. Everyone, go now.
they got nothing for it. So it means I have to play a bit more cautiously
Dire's middle tower is under
for the
attack.
next few moments of my life. But in general, I don't think it's that big of an issue. Because, you know, I'm walking. So throw a stun, whack a guy, try to dodge that, and I have my armlet in now. So this is going to be a completely different battle than what it was. I know my ultimate's on cooldown, so I don't need to worry about mana consumption for it, because it doesn't matter at this point, so I can throw the second stun out on the Zeus, I can turn the armlet on. And when I have armlet, my damage output suddenly goes through the roof compared to what it was. I'm getting about double the damage
Dire's
out of it. I'm
bottom
going from
tower is
78
under attack.
with armlet on, that's another 60, so I'm going from 78
Green dude's top
to
thing
138,
is about to get
which is a
knocked
huge,
over.
huge
Dire's
difference,
bottom
especially in the
tower is
early
under
game. And like you can see, as because of the regeneration from the armlet itself and my
attack.
vampiric
Radiant's
aura,
top tower is under
I'm already
attack.
top back off. So I'm not having too much of an issue with it. Backing up from tower here, I'm going to say was a mistake. I could have attack moved on the creep. I had a lot of issue with that for some reason. But I could have made it out of that with much less. Turn armlet on, I would argue that that's a mistake there. Although I suppose it really doesn't matter that much. The reason I'm saying it's a mistake is that Elder Titan's ultimate does a percentage of your HP. So if you turn an armlet on and you get more temporary XP, it's just going to do damage to you. It's just going to, the damage will scale. So when you turn it off, whatever HP drain you took is going to be, when you turn it off, you'll notice the HP drain, but otherwise your HP would remain effectively the same. So I don't really think turning an armlet on there was worthwhile, but it's what I did. Just something for me to notice when I'm playing in the future. Oh, and I finally picked up my 4th level of Hellfire Blast, because I've been forgetting about that skill for seems like ever. I'm going on to finish my treads. I do like treads on SK. The attack speed goes really well, because he's a strength hero. He doesn't get too much attack speed. And getting more strength and being more tanky really helps. I find that on SK, I have a fairly easy job catching up to heroes because of the Hellfire Blast and the stun and the slow. That chasing heroes really isn't that much of an issue. But I would argue that's more of a personal preference, but I do feel if you like 30 attack speed, especially if you have something like an armlet that's already giving you a huge amount of damage. Because armlet is a ridiculously cost efficient item. That the attack speed is going to go further than the damage from the phase boots. But with phase boots, you do have the phase ability, which could potentially be more important. So that's something that's debatable. So if we look at it, let's look at some. Let's look at some current worth or gold per minute. So right now I'm sitting at 276, which is the 4th place on the line, which really is completely awful. I should handily be beating both the Dragon Knight and the Anti-Mage. It's just that I'm really sucking at last hitting right now. Anything below 300 in a safe lane in a carry is entirely pathetic. That being said, if we switch over to XP per minute, yeah, I'm still in the 4th place scenario. I mean, I'm not playing exceptionally in any way, shape, form, or how right now. At all. Basically, our Dark Series being a Seer, a Dragon Knight won mid against the Zeus, and I've been missing last hits and missing kills the entire time. This was a really important team fight for us. Being able to stun someone in wall is really, 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 really awesome. So now I'm going to go back and I'm going to whack on tower, get tower gold. Getting a tower for free and getting a kill off it, huge amount of gold for a team. Huge. Very important, because they did a 4-man rotation to try and stop us. One of them died, got the tower. We didn't lose anything. So that's very helpful. So I was content. I'm chopping down a tree here. I want this farm. And I'm going to contest this with Dragon Knight doing the jerk. And he was making jokes about how we needed that Vampiric Warrior to fill up. But, remember to get mad at LeBlanc for that later. But, you know, sometimes stuff like this happens. It's not really something that you can change. So basically, I'm trying to farm up here and get some much needed EXP, much needed gold. Because basically, I'm going to have to end up out carrying this anti-mage down here later on. And that's going to be challenging at best, impossible at worst. This anti-mage is actually really, really strong against someone like Skeleton King, because Skeleton King is so mana dependent and he doesn't have any of it. Also, this is a note about Armlet. You can see how I'm taking the jungle creeps. I'm still restoring HP even though I'm being attacked, or at least I'm staying even until I get a crit. But, so yeah, Armlet doesn't really hurt Skeleton Kings because of the light skill. Tasting a crow for Kevin there. And right now you could argue that, I mean, my farm is behind. My XP is behind. I'm not too far behind the anti-mage. I actually passed that anti-mage in gold. But fairly shortly, if he doesn't already, which he does, the anti-mage is going to have the Battle Fury, and that's going to come next year. Here, I don't know what Earthshaker was doing. He was really far out of position, and we'll punish him for it. But I'm just going to sit here, I'm jungling, I'm getting the Hyperstone, because it's going to, I'm not losing HP to the creeps, but I am getting a much needed attack boost, which, let's see what my attacks per second are right now. My attacks per second are 0.72 seconds per attack, so I'm getting about 1.5 attacks off a second. And attack speed is something you really need on someone like SK, because like I said, the Armlet is already going to give you plus 60 damage, which is a ton of damage. Plus 60 is a lot. It is a lot of damage. Especially at this stage of the game. Because something like Butterfly for an agility hero gives plus 60 damage. Granted, it also gives attack speed, 60 attack speed, and some armor and some evasion. But, I mean, Armlet also gives 25 attack speed. So, I mean, it's missing about 30 attack speed, 4 armor. Actually, it probably beats it in armor, because it comes with 5 armor. So it's giving everything in a Butterfly except 30 HP, 30 attack speed, and 30% evasion. Now, the evasion component of that is huge, because evasion is really, really, really cost efficient as far as damage goes. But for 2,000 gold, Armlet is phenomenal. I was waiting for him to sleep me here. I mean, he's just kind of, I don't really know. I didn't really have to run away from that because it wasn't going to do damage to me because it was already landed on top of me, but I figured I'm going to back up because Zeus was there and everything else. So, Dragon Knight and I seem to be contesting this farm a lot. Granted, I got all the last hits there, but we're both quite interested in that. So I'm going to go last hit some more creeps, because last hitting creeps is incredibly fun. Really enjoy last hitting creeps. And then we go to try to help our teammate, but not to much avail. Or at least not too much avail at the beginning. But we end up cleaning up. We get 3, so 3 for 2. I'm going to take it, especially because we got Drow, who is a carry. We got Zeus, who's been doing some decent damage, and we got a Spear Breaker. So all in all, I'm happy with that. At this point, I'm kind of wandering. Apparently walked by a ward. I don't really know what I'm doing. I could have just turned away, but I'm apparently enjoying walking a much needed long way. At this point, I noticed that the anti-mage is chasing me, so I'm going to turn on Armlet, and I'm going to hit him a few times, and you'll notice that I do a ton of damage to Anti-Mage. Now, I could have stunned him before he started hitting me. I probably could have got a kill if I did that, so you could probably argue that was a misplay, because I was trying to be cautious about the mana in case I needed to res. But I completely forgot that Anti-Mage drains mana. Well, I was afraid of him. So it's probably a good thing that Anti-Mage backed off. I mean, I would have killed him if he didn't, but I really can't afford to lose too much more mana. So I'm getting a plate mail in here. I'm going for an Assault Cuirass as a, once again, as a strength hero. You don't have too much armor, which is something that agility carries do get of you, that you don't have armor as a strength carry. So I'm trying to compensate that with the Assault Cuirass. I'm also going to get attack speed, something else I need on a strength carry. I'm going to get an armor degen buff. An armor degen is ridiculously awesome for anti-damage. Because basically each point of armor is less effective than the last point. So when you have low armor people, such as the Spirit Breaker, he's going to take almost 1-for-1. Elder Titan's going to take close to 1-for-1 damage. And Zeus. So that melts 3 heroes. Drow has a ton of armor because of her marksmanship aura. But when that's not there, it's not going to matter that much. Anyways, this was a fight that I was really looking forward to casting this game. But so basically, we got initiated on. We got absolutely nothing done. But I res, take out the tower, because that gold is super important. I'm walking away, they're bashing me. I realize I'm not going to get away because of Drows. Stun, and in the duration of the stun, I'm going to be able to... Actually, apparently I'm not able to kill the Elder Titan. But I live, I armlet toggle out of the arrow, crit the Drow to death, and then I end up getting that. Now I realize at this point that I can't actually toggle my armlet off and walk away because these creeps will just kill me. They're moving really slow. So I have to bash them a bit and heal up off of them to live. So I'll come out of that alive, which is not what I was expecting. Armlet is a very, very strong item, especially with the possibility of toggling. Get back, come out of that alive. And that was really what mattered. So I got a tower, and I got 2 kills. And the more important of those is the tower. Because the tower is, since I last hit it, it's going to be 600 gold for me. It's going to be 300 gold for everyone else on my team. It also means I get to complete my Assault Cuirass. So it completed Assault Cuirass because of my armlet and the Assault Cuirass. Means I can push these bottom racks. Because the armor buff is going to just let us cleave right through them. Not literally cleave, but it's going to melt them a ton. And so we're just going to kind of hang around here, look for an opportunity to take the racks. So Spirit Breaker's charging. He apparently... I could have stunned him out of the charge. I apparently wasn't thinking. But that backing really helped. And basically this is where Lifesteal and Armlet and all of my items are just really showing off some of the Skeleton's King's strengths. Because with that Lifesteal, I didn't die. My ultimate's on cooldown, so I know I can use my stuns. I don't have to worry about mana, and just Armlet and Assault Cuirass just lets us push right through them. Granted, I am the most farmed person and the most experienced person on the team right now, but I mean, that was just poorly executed from them. First off, going on someone like a Seer, who has this much survivability. I mean, he has a mech, he's going to have a pipe, he's not going to die to magic damage. He's not the most survivable Seer for this point in the game, but he has a... If we look at net worth, he's the 3rd net worth, because none of us are really farming. It's a little bit of a weird game, but he's relatively survivable. And he does have the lifesteal, and I mean, it just worked out really nice for us. So, because of how we just came out of that fight, we are feeling fairly confident in pushing these racks, especially because I have the Assault Cuirass. I'm going to get charged, which isn't exactly phenomenal. Get sleep, and I really just kind of end up watching this fight because of that sleep. But I do get to come in here at the end, and that is essentially Anti-Mage Illusion going to work, because the Anti-Mage Illusion gets the mana burn, and it does 90% of Anti-Mage's actual damage. So it really, really, really hurts. My Dragon Knight just became used to show off. This wants to be a giant flying dragon. So I buy the Maelstrom because Maelstrom and Mjolnir, because the shield goes really well. Skeleton King is so tanky. I'm just looking for attack speed at this point. Granted, you don't always need attack speed, but I mean, you could go other stuff. You could go heart, you could go radiance, and different versions of damage items. But I'm just trying to get my attack speed up, because with the increased attack speed, I will be able to deal significantly more damage, because my damage around 200 is okay. And when you're trying to get DPS, you have to scale equally damage and attack speed. Because basically, if you have 100 damage and 100 attack speed, you double the damage, you're going to go to 200 damage, so your DPS will double as well. If you have attack speed and you double your attack speed, so it's only taking half a second, your DPS also doubles. But the important part is that if you double both of them, you double your attack speed, so your attack time will half, and you double the actual damage, your damage quadruples. So to do the same thing, scaling only one of them, you'd have to double your damage, and then you'd have to double your damage again. So you'd have to buy something like an armlet, and then you'd have to buy something like Divine Rapier to get the same return that 100 attack speed is going to give you. And that's essentially why I'm a big fan of stuff like attack speed on this hero, because the Mouse Drum, it's going to give me damage, it's going to give me attack speed in equal amounts, and I'm just going to cleave an anti-mage there apparently. And the attack speed from the armor is going to offset the straight damage from the armlet. So stun, and then cleave, kill. At this point, I'm fairly far ahead of their entire team, because even though I didn't do the best in the tri-lane, these heroes really didn't get that much farm. Granted, they are the two most farmed heroes on the other team, but that's more from the fact that they're farming as opposed to the fact that they got a lot of farm. Stun, another kill, because I do a relative ton of damage right now. We're just going to push this next set of racks, which are going to melt really quickly because of the Assault Kara. And then this is where Assault Kara is really, really good at destroying buildings. And something to talk about on strength heroes, or really, really tanky heroes in general, someone like the Skeleton King, is that stuff that has a prolonged effect on the battlefield is going to be much more helpful than stuff that does not. So something like a Radiance on the Skeleton King, because Skeleton King is going to stay alive, he's going to be able to get so much out of that Radiance. He's going to get 50 AoE damage every single second. So every single second that he's alive, you can in theory get 250 AoE magic damage, which is incredibly significant. So that's why I like something like the Assault Cuirass, because if I'm the last one to die, it means everyone on my team is going to get the Assault Cuirass buff for as long as possible. Now, I got slept while I was armleting, which was really, really frustrating, because I ended up taking a lot of damage from the armlet. But I do have my ult up, so it really doesn't matter. And I'm just going to bash my way through some towers. I mean, at this point, I'm just far enough ahead that they can't kill me. And I can do enough damage to kill them fairly easily because of items. So, also, something to note was that Spirit Breaker would have lived if he probably could have lived. I'm not going to say would have lived. Like that Drow, for instance. Like, that was what, 2 hits? 2 hit a Drow. I mean, I realize it's a Drow. I realize she has, like, 1000 HP regardless. I kind of wanted mana here was what I remember. I was like, oh, no, I'm picking my Mjolnir. But my damage output is relatively ridiculous at this point. Especially with Cleave. Is that it's just I'm far enough ahead that it doesn't really matter. And if you look at the score, I'm something like 16-1 right now. I remember ending this game at 17-1. So I have one more kill before I go out. I die because I wanted mana.
Good guys.
And HP. That could be awesome. No! I remember getting one, so maybe I didn't. Ah. But yeah, so that's a Skeleton King game. It just shows you the importance of snowballing on a hard carry like Skeleton King. Because it really just reached a point where I could go through their entire team. I mean, granted, I did need my team that entire fight, but just the ability to hit cleave a drow to death is very, very helpful. So yeah, the game ended up being not bad by my standards. Anyways, I'll see you all in the next video.